Welcome. Good day, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope life is treating you beautifully. Welcome to Wisdom with Him. I'm your host, Samir, and I look forward to diving deep with you. I know you're going to love this episode. I urge you to listen to this podcast, not like any other podcast. I invite you to listen to it from your heart, to listen to it as though it is a conversation between you and your deepest self, to really listen and feel into the words and see what resonates for you and leave what doesn't. I know you're going to receive value from it. I look forward to diving deep with you. Stay tuned and enjoy the episode. Many of us right now in the world are dealing with a lot of our unhealed traumas, and we're learning and we're seeking ways in which to support ourselves, how to truly move through the traumatic past that we've experienced and endured, and to regain a measure of safety again within our bodies. Because that's really what the conversation is about. Reclaiming ourselves and reclaiming our sovereignty within our bodies. When we experience stress and in the form of abuse or pain or trauma, especially early on, it leaves a lasting imprint in our nervous system. And for many of us, growing up in a home in where our safety was threatened and we were forced to show up and behave in a certain way in order to avoid potential pain, we learned to train ourselves to avoid actually being ourselves. And in turn, we began a life of masking ourselves to our families, masking ourselves to the social world, and ultimately masking ourselves from ourselves. And this isn't going to work if we're going to move forward in our journeys as human beings and ultimately on the path of true happiness. We must learn to be honest with ourselves. And if we're not honest with ourselves at the level of our emotions, well, then we're going to keep perpetually distracting ourselves from the lingering pains that live within ourselves. And we're going to be wondering why we're not creating the lives that we truly want to create. It is absolutely imperative to heal the wounds of the past so that you can truly create the future you dream of. The future you desire is one of peace, happiness, abundance, joy, calm, and ultimately is one where your emotions are in your own control. You are not triggered by external stimulations or external triggers that throw your inner equilibrium off. Equanimity is truly the highest treasure. When we have a measure of peace within, it really doesn't matter what's going on the outside. The world is filled with chaos, continual tumultuation. And if we don't understand how to navigate that chaos with our own internal balance, well, it's going to feel very overwhelming. It's going to feel scary, and it's going to feel confusing, and we're going to doubt the certainty of our own future. And I know many of you are there right now. I too was there. And it took me actually blocking out the noise of the world and solely committing to myself and my own healing journey that I was able to actually move through the different layers that I had to experience. And that's why I'm here showing up with you today on this journey, because I know too what it is like to experience the darkness, what it is to experience the feelings of unworthiness and the feelings of uncertainty for yourself and your future, to feel like you're unlovable and that whatever you do won't be enough. And in turn, this creates some very toxic behaviors. It creates addictions. It creates patterns of self-sabotage, which in turn are not actually sabotaging, but really deeper protection mechanisms for self-preservation. And so this conversation is extremely important, and it's extremely wise of you to have taken the time out of your day and your life to commit yourself to listen and to learn at a deeper level what you're going through, why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and truly how to gain ground over your mind and your nervous system. we're going to deep dive into what are called the trauma responses. There's 4 aptly known trauma responses. The 4 of these responses, they get triggered whenever we experience experiences of heightened stress and ultimate danger or a threat of our own safety and survival. This puts our body into an automatic response state or an unconscious response towards protecting ourselves from further harm or pain. When we experience any one of these traumatic responses, we are doing so in order to protect ourselves. And our body is adhering to its most primitive reptilian training, evolved over millennia, on how to keep you safe and alive. Now the thing is sometimes these traumatic responses, when they are activated in our nervous system and we are not trained or taught how to calm ourselves down and to bring ourselves back into a measure of safety and autonomy, well then these patterns become ingrained as ways of living and surviving. And for many of you watching this, I know you are in a constant state of survival, constantly activating your adrenal glands, living in a place of hypervigilance with your mind on overdrive, not feeling any kind of calm in the present moment, and feeling always uncertain about the next, always in guilt about the past, and in a measure of shame that envelops you to the point that you feel ultimately frozen and helpless. But there's a way through this. You are not stuck here, and this isn't a life sentence. I tell all my clients, we must experience pain twice. The first time we experience pain, it catches us off guard. It's when we are initially encountering our first traumatic experience, our first pain, in whatever form that was triggered. And now your mind, in experiencing that pain, will do everything at all costs to avoid it from happening again. The thing is, in order to truly heal, we must revisit the source of that pain one more time. And this time, rather than closing our eyes to it, we must keep our eyes open and witness through the pain so that we may come through the very roots of it and come through the other side. For when we experience our pain consciously the second time in the safety of an environment in where we allow ourselves to heal and feel everything that comes up with that, we make our way through into a place of self-revelation and self-expansion. This is when we experience the pain the second time through, we discover the wisdom that lies beyond it. And there is wisdom and gold hidden deep within all of your wounds. All the pain that you're carrying from your past, the pain that you're avoiding, to not wishing to acknowledge, not wanting to truly take ownership of, it in fact carries the seeds of your own power, your power to create your future the way you desire. For this life is truly massive, and it is filled with unbelievable potentialities and possibilities for each and every one of us. But until we own the unique thread of our own existence and the path and blueprint of our life, we are going to constantly try to compare and try and wish that our life isn't ours and that we had somebody else's life. But the truth of the matter is, not a single person, not even for a millisecond, has lived a day in your life. You alone have lived your life. You alone have lived in this journey, experiencing every minute detail of your experience. Every day that you have experienced in this body has been yours. And there are many days that you wish you didn't experience your life the way you experienced it. There are many days in which you probably have wished you didn't even live your own life, and that's okay. However, there is great power in owning the fact that this is your life. There's a reason it is called life. It's because it is a process and a journey. And what our past is doesn't mean that is what our future will be. And the truth of the matter is, 99% of us don't understand that our past doesn't actually create our future. It is where we started, but it is not where we're going. And the cycle in which you are constantly repeating yourself in right now is one of continual fear that the future can be different, because there's actually grown to be a level of an addiction to your own past suffering. And this is why this conversation, again, is extremely important, because until we address the root causes of your pain and address how your nervous system is constantly responding and reacting to stress today in the same way that it was trained to respond to the stress in the past, you are going to keep repeating certain cycles and behaviors that are going to keep you feeling like you're stuck, living out a Groundhog Day over and over. And this is not the way you want to live. This is not the way that any of us were actually designed to live. We're meant to live joyful, abundant, expansive, creative lives in where we experience the most of ourselves in this rich experience we call life. Now, the truth is, until we face ourselves and face every part of ourselves that we are avoiding, we are going to continually find ourselves to be experiencing what we would call sameness. The same experiences repeating themselves in different forms, either with the same people or different people, same places or different places. We're going to find ourselves repeating patterns. And these patterns, if they are not addressed, will continue to create your future. So how do we take hold of this? How do we slow the path down enough that we can actually address what has happened to us, so that we can actually gain a measure of control again towards creating the future the way we decide? Now, when we experience trauma, majority of us did not have a conscious hand in that. This was something that happened to you, and I understand the implications of what that is. How much pain there is to the fact that those closest to you often were the ones who betrayed your trust in life, in your family, and ultimately in yourself. Because ultimately, when we are forced in our family structures to experience a certain measure of pain or trauma that we have no way of accounting for, and the people, the abusers, the ones who have hurt us, do not take accountability and rectify the place in which that they caused us severe harm, then that creates a certain level of self-abandonment and self-betrayal that we then become practiced into, which creates an innumerable amount of problems as we move forward into our adult lives. Because if we are in the practice of abandoning ourselves, we will truly never have a safe foundation to create the future we truly dream of. And this is why this is such an important conversation. And this is, in fact, the most important conversation for you if you have experienced pain, trauma, and a past in which you are constantly finding yourself trying to escape from. Because the reality is, you cannot escape your past. You cannot escape yourself. And it's the hard truth about life, which is that you don't get to escape yourself. You can avoid yourself incessantly, distracting yourself, numbing yourself, and sedating yourself. But this will do nothing to heal the root causes of what you've endured. Until you take true ownership of yourself, your life, and then build back forward the way you truly want to create, this is going to be a process of what seems to be a repeating hellish cycle. And that is not something we wish upon any of our closest friends or enemies. And this is why I'm asking you to take the brave step with me in this process to commit to yourself. This is one of the most important, powerful commitments you will ever make in your entire life. The commitment, the supreme commitment to yourself. This is a commitment to hold forth in spite of everything that you've experienced and will continue to experience, to not abandon yourself. That is to say that even if your family turns their back on you, even if the world turns its back on you, even if all of the universe was to turn its back on you, you will not turn your back on yourself now or ever again. This is such a commitment that when you make this choice with yourself, you are choosing to be your own hero. You are choosing to save your inner child. You are choosing to change the lineage in which you've experienced patterns of long-term abuse, and you are breaking the generational trauma and curses that have passed down through generations and generations. You are choosing to change the very course of your own future, but also the future of all those who come after you. For when you make this choice, this sovereign, supreme commitment to yourself, your life changes, but all of life changes, because you announce yourself within life and in existence as a sovereign being, choosing to announce yourself as worthy of living a divine life. And yes, it is a divine life, because this life is a miracle. And there is a reason that you are on this path. There is a reason you are in this journey. There is a reason you are watching and listening to this video right here and now, because you know at the core of your being, within your depths, within your soul, that there is nothing that matters more than you reclaiming yourself. And that begins by you taking this now moment, this opportunity, to making a supreme commitment to yourself. Close your eyes, take a moment, and take a deep breath in. And with yourself as your witness, announce within, I choose to commit to myself completely. I choose to show up for myself regardless of what futures I experience, regardless of what challenges lay ahead of me, regardless of what layers of pain I must face, regardless of all that I fear, regardless of my mind, regardless of all that is, I choose to commit to myself now, here forward, living forward in complete, supreme alignment with the truth of who I am. And that is my choice to create safety in my body, to create safety in my mind, to create safety in my emotions, to create safety in my life. I choose to be an autonomous, sovereign being who chooses and creates their reality from a place of true peace, true alignment, and true authentic expression. But this cannot be if I do not make this radical choice now to commit to myself, knowing that the path will not be easy, and knowing that people may come and leave my life who have been with me up till now, knowing that life will change with this commitment, because this is the commitment that I have never made in this life. This is the commitment that will change everything. I now make a supreme commitment to myself, to show up for myself, to show up for my inner child, to show up even when I do not know how. And so it is. This is a profound moment in your life. This is a profound moment in the trajectory of where your life will go forward from here now. This is not a light verbal affirmation. This is a willful, autonomous choice that will change the trajectory and direction of your entire existence. Because now you have made a verbal and internal affirmation of commitment to your own sense of being. And your being itself will now lead you forward as you begin to heal. And healing yourself means reclaiming yourself. And you have done the very first step required to do so. Take this moment and relish and be proud of yourself, because you've done the hardest part. You have chosen with courage and faith to commit into the unknown, knowing not what is lying ahead of you, but knowing that you will have your own back, regardless of who is beside you, knowing as God is your witness that you are truly going to make it through this, and you have endured already the hardest parts. For the past will not repeat itself now, for you are making a change in your life that is so radical, you might just change the entire world. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Wisdom with Him. I'm your host, Samir, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next episode. I hope you received everything you needed from this episode and that it supports you wherever you are in your journey right now. If you did receive some value from this episode, all I'd ask is that you would share this episode with a friend or someone you love so that they too may receive something from it. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your energy. Be well and stay blessed. We'll see you soon.